And he just like starts watering his mogwais, feeds them after midnight, and says, "Run, my pretties," you know.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Hi there.
And we're going to continue our series of Best of the Years We've Been Alive, and we're all the way up to 2010.
Did I adequately answer your condescending question?
Sweet potato! Who do you think you're talking to?
I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
You cocky cock!
It's only when we wake up that we realize something was actually strange.
I mean to kill you in 1 minute, Ned.
Oh, I don't even know if there is a joke.
You kind of look like a stripper.
Mom?
A high-end stripper for governors or athletes.
Holy shit.
Wow.
How did we get here already?
I know
How
there's
did I
only
get
like
here?
7 more of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we're going to have to find something new to do.
Yeah. And oh my God, we're going to have to do something new. Shit.
Let's just cycle back around.
Yeah, let's just go backwards after the. All right, let's do the. Yeah. All right. So I guess what immediately comes to my mind about 2010 is Inception.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
It was obviously a tremendous hit, and I believe it got nominated for Best Picture. And this is something that, it is something we crave, right, in movies. It's something that's creative, something we haven't ever really seen before. It's got its minor flaws here and there. I'm sure there's some people who absolutely hate Inception. I really love Inception.
Oh, man, it's a happy place for me. Playing with time, right? The levels of dreams going further down, and each time you go down, time takes longer to pass there, and it gives us this wonderfully layered finale taking place in 3 different sort of time speeds or time periods, and all impacting each other. God, I love it so much, and it's Christopher Nolan, I think, at his inventive best.
Yeah, and it's one of the best casts of this decade.
Oh, fantastic cast.
It's amazing. I mean, you think about all the talent involved here, Christopher Nolan aside. Leo DiCaprio, Ellen Page, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, Ken Watanabe. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a fantastic cast, and they really sell this world, right? Their acting, their reactions to it, that is crucial to us buying in. And there's moments where it's heady, very heady, but I think everything is explained fairly well for the casual viewer. It's
even better when you start reading into a lot of the different things that are in it. Like, it's basically like it's a movie set. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got their like sort of their role on there, and that's sort of like the fun like subtext of the movie is seeing these characters playing that what somebody in a movie production would and everything. There's also, and I wish I could find the guy's name, there is a great YouTube video about Inception. This guy's in a classroom, and he's basically going through all the different meanings of it and everything. Oh, it's fantastic. It will make you think about Inception in a different way, because there's a lot of stuff in there, like, and this is one of those everything wrong with videos that kicked our ass, because there was so many different like levels to it and everything. And so I think today we'd probably try to avoid doing Inception. There's so many things in it. But a lot of the things in there that you might question are all part of this world. There's all, there's explanations for it and everything. And man, is it so good. It's just so creative and so well done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't say anything better than that. I think we forgot to mention Michael Caine. Oh, yeah. And Marion Cotillard, Cillian Murphy.
It's Marion Cotillard or Cotillard. Yeah.
Marion Cotillard.
Yeah. You have to like take those L's and just not pronounce them for whatever reason.
I got Cillian's name right this time at least.
Yeah. Yeah. And even I knew it was Cotillard, and I'm sitting there going, I'm trying to get the L's out of the way, and fuck, no.
I like that this movie, you're right, because it does get heady, but it takes its time to explain itself, though. Mm-hmm. And it's not narration, it's not, out of bounds stuff. It's straight like, here's you taking a newcomer, here's what the world is like, here are the rules, here's what you can play with, and that kind of thing. And it goes out of its way to make sure that you understand this, because if you don't get it at the front end, you're not going to get it going forward when they go down all those different levels.
Right. No, absolutely. And one of the best final scenes, in my opinion, and you could put this up with anything in a best montage discussion, I think, from when the time he wakes up, gets to the airport and gets through customs, and it's all set to that theme, time, which is one of my favorite pieces of the score ever, and I could just listen to it anytime and get goosebumps. But yeah, if you somehow haven't seen Inception, if the premise was scaring you off because it's so complicated, just jump in. I think you'll enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and Hans Zimmer has been around for a long time, but this is a breakout performance.
Yeah,
well, and endlessly imitated since then.
By himself, too.
Yeah, by himself, but by everybody else in every trailer known to man.
By the way, that guy's name is Kyle Johnson. If you want to go to YouTube, go to Kyle Johnson. It's called Inception in Philosophy. That video, if you love Inception, you're going to love watching. It's a 42-minute video, but you're going to love watching that video because he breaks it down so well. And there's a lot of stuff in there that I never really, because the ending that you're talking about, the kids say some stuff that you can't really hear and they say some stuff that is incredible to what that movie is. And I never heard it before. And he's like, well, I had to watch it with the subtitles, and then the subtitles tell you what the kids say, and the kids say something very important.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there trying to think, oh, well, it's definitely a dream, or, oh, it's definitely real, but when the kids say what they say, you're like, oh my God, that just opens up so many other little things.
Yeah.
So I love Inception to pieces. What else, guys?
Well, Social Network.
Yep.
Let's just get the big dogs out of the way.
Sure.
When I first read the headline, David Fincher to make a movie about Facebook, I went on whatever social media I was on at that time. This is way pre-Cinemasins, and I laughed and laughed and laughed. And boy, did that movie make me pay for feeling that way. This is a fantastic movie. Somehow they made a movie about the founding of Facebook that is just riveting.
Yeah.
And he steals a few pages from Nolan here in terms of the way the film is presented to us over different times, and we jump forward and back a little bit, especially with what's going on with the lawsuits and the depositions and whatnot. This is the first movie score for Trent Reznor, right?
Yep.
And it's a home run. It's just a creepy...
And was it Atticus Ross, the other guy? Yeah. And they won an Oscar, I think.
They
for
did.
This.
They did. Deservingly.
It's a great score.
It is an amazing score.
Yeah.
This is the breakout for Andrew Garfield for me.
Yes.
And even Justin Timberlake, who had already sort of had he's better than I would have ever thought Justin Timberlake would be, and he's great in this.
Yeah.
But Andrew Garfield has a scene that I can't stop watching in here, and it's when they finds out that he's not in on that stock agreement, and it's just the best. It's just the way everything is about it is so winning, but even while you're sitting there going, oh no, what's going to happen? But I love that. And Jesse Eisenberg, I mean, this is a perfect role for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've always liked Jesse Eisenberg, but recently it's like he's sort of bought into all that bullshit that he does, and he does it in everything now.
Yeah.
But he's really good in this. This is perfect.
Yeah, this is a perfect movie to me. I love everything about this. The way it's paced, the way that they tell the story and mess around with the time and everything. Timberlake's performance, man, Rashida Jones is great in this.
Yeah.
Armie Hammer is the Winklevoss twins is great. Aaron Sorkin's dialogue in the wrong mouths.
Yeah, right.
Can get in the newsroom.
Yeah.
Can get way too heavy. But this, it's crisp and it sings, and I mean you have exactly that much of my attention.
Yeah. And without having to teach you programming, still shows you how much better Zuckerberg was than those around him at doing this stuff. You really get a sense that he was kind of an outlier. Even though, I don't know jack shit about programming. Rooney Mara's in this big breakout role. Also has a whole 9 yards, throw the beer, the person doesn't catch it joke, which will never not be funny to me. Anyway, I love it. I watch it probably intentionally once or twice a year.
It kind of shows you how much of a star Aaron Sorkin is as a writer, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
And the fact that the movie Steve Jobs came out and that was Danny Boyle, but it still felt like all the stuff that Social Network did. Like, those two movies are so similar. Like you could watch them back to back, but those are two different directors and everything. You can tell the Fincher in Social Network because of just the way everything's lit and shot and everything like that. But like when I was watching Steve Jobs, I was like, yeah, that's the same guy, right? Did David Fincher do this? No, it's Danny Boyle.
Although he did almost do it. He was attached for the longest time. But then, backed out, and it was Danny Boyle.
Yeah. All right. Another one. This one is maybe somewhat divisive in this room. I don't know. Scott Pilgrim versus the World came out in 2010.
Boy, do I feel like I drop acid when I watch this movie. And this is one of those movies that I've never watched twice all the way through. I've caught it bits and pieces flipping around. I watched it all the way through the first time intentionally. And I respect it. And I think it's good. But that doesn't mean I want to subject my eyes to it too many more times because it is manic.
Seen this movie probably 15 times. It's one of those. Edgar Wright can do no wrong right now for me. And this is one of those movies that I feel like there's so much inventive about the way he edits and he does his jokes and stuff like that. Yes, it is crazy on like all the like video game type stuff that's going on in here. But like every Edgar Wright movie before it, there's like a lot of stuff going on in this that's not on the surface, like all the X's that are in the, that are in there that sort of foreshadow everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I love that. It's that type of stuff. But I love like, where, Michael Cera's like, we're going to meet at and it cuts to the building that they're going to go to instead of him saying it, he's winning in it. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is very winning in it. I love how before they even run into the girl ex, the Mae Whitman ex, he keeps saying ex-boyfriends, and she keeps correcting him saying exes.
Exes, yeah.
and he doesn't ever get it.
Yeah.
He never gets it. It's like, why do you keep correcting me on that? And then finally he gets the answer later on. Of course, Mae Whitman has the one of the best lines in it. It says, "Looks like your BF's about to get F'd in the B."
I love this movie.
Yeah, I do too.
For everything that you said, but what's cool about this is even as weird as it is at the beginning, nothing really prepares you for when he starts fighting.
Yeah.
Like you just all of a sudden like Michael Cera turns into a badass.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the hell is this? And Jason Schwartzman takes a turn into one of the most interesting, maybe not the best, but one of the more interesting villains that you'll ever see. I mean, he's so greasy.
Oh,
and
he's
everything.
man.
And the way that they stage these fights, these video game fights, from one end to the other, even especially when they're doing like the Battle of the Bands thing, I think is really cool. By the way, Beck ended up writing the songs for this Sex Bob-omb band.
There's one song that and Brie Larson is in this too. There's one song that they do that I know is from another band that I heard back in the day, and I can't remember who it is, but a lot of they had professionals writing these songs. And
oh man, it's good. I love it.
Yeah. And it's just got a lot of it's funny throughout. So yeah, there's a lot of that hyper stylized editing and stuff. It makes you feel like if you've got, epilepsy, you shouldn't watch this or whatever. But in the end, I think the script and the way it's presented sort of overcome all of that. And man, I just love this movie so much.
Let's stay out here on the fringes and talk a little bit about Tucker and Dale.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Another movie I don't think very many people have seen. It has a pretty good following, and people who like it really like it.
Yeah.
But this is basically what would happen if you took one of those typical cabin in the wood monster horror slasher movies and crossed it with The Man Who Knew Too Little with Bill Murray. Because you have Tucker and Dale, these two backwoods guys that are genuinely just trying to help these like college kids stay alive, but keep accidentally looking like the killers. And I just bawl all the way through it laughing because it's so absurd and hilarious. I don't know. You guys like it?
Yeah. I saw this at our local Belcourt when it came out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, really, really good stuff.
Alan Tudyk.
Man. He's so winning in just about everything he does.
He really is.
And he's great in this, too.
Yeah, and it's I saw this probably the same week I watched Cabin in the Woods and this.
Oh, yeah.
And
perfect.
Really spoiled me on comic horror for a long time.
I can imagine.
Those two movies are so good at it. Anyway, I just wanted to get that shout out in there.
Nice.
Also coming out, we had I had it a minute ago. The Town came out.
Yes.
In 2010, and this was Affleck's basically the Gone Baby Gone was no fluke movie.
Yeah, and Gone Baby Gone is his best, but The Town is the most watchable in my opinion. Just 3 or 4 really good action heist scenes, culminating with the one at Fenway, which is about 30 minutes of raw heist shootout awesomeness. And yeah, I just love this movie, everything about it. Even I think this is Affleck's best performance in one of his own movies.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Jeremy Renner's great.
Oh, yeah.
Blake Lively is great. John Hamm is great.
Oh, yeah.
There's nobody bad in this movie, but if you've never seen it, this would be my probably number one recommended of the year.
Small role from Pete Postlethwaite.
Oh, my God.
Who's terrifying basically he's very quiet about his terrifyingness, but I love the John Hamm scene with Blake Lively in the bar. That is one of the best scenes in the movie, and he's just talking about, I know everything about money. He's like, you know how much it weighs? 1 gram.
Yeah.
You know, all that type of stuff. John Hamm is a smart guy. Like, we're not seeing some, dumbass detective chasing after Ben Affleck in this movie and everything. And you kind of can root for both characters in this. It's very rare that you can see that.
Yeah, they give him plenty of screen time and give him a chance to show how good he is at his job. And then we have Titus Welliver again as his right-hand man. Affleck clearly likes working with that guy. But the Pete Postlethwaite thing you were talking about, God, he's a florist. Almost every time we see him, he's trimming roses. But he says some of the most menacing shit in that scene when Ben Affleck tries to walk away. And he tells him the story about his mother. And he makes a threat against Affleck's current girlfriend. And I love when Affleck leaves. He's like, if anything happens to her, I'm coming back. I'm going to kill both of you in your own shop. And everybody has a dramatic moment to just shine, and everyone hits it out of the park.
Man.
It's just a fantastic crime movie.
I get a lot of Heat vibes off of this.
Oh, definitely.
Right? I mean, you got the unhinged right-hand man. You've got John Hamm essentially in the Al Pacino character, and De Niro and Affleck in the same role.
And bank robberies.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and after they've done the bank with Rebecca Hall, who's another person I love, Ben Affleck doesn't want to do anymore. It's kind of like Heat, where it's like we're kind of like getting to that point where we need to make that last score and then get out.
Yep.
And of course, that last score is always the one where you have the most trouble.
Yep.
And that's where you get in a lot of that Heat vibe, I think, because it's that type of thing.
Exactly. And you have, Val Kilmer and Jeremy Renner in this are really very similar. But you got that great scene with Jeremy Renner and Ben Affleck when he tells him, I'm moving to Florida. I'm getting out. You're not getting out? What are you talking about? Oh, man.
I did 9 years for you.
Exactly.
It's intense.
You feel all that history behind them and the fact that he cannot let this person go.
Yeah. And you even get that heist in the middle that shows the cracks in the surface because Affleck says, I don't like the guard on the next job.
Yeah.
He thinks he's G.I. Joe. He wears body armor. Let's wait for another truck. But they go ahead and do it. And of course, that G.I. Joe gets out of the truck and forces Jeremy Renner to shoot him. And then they get away in one of the coolest chase scenes ever. And just it shows off how brilliant they are at their planning.
I've always liked Jeremy Renner as an actor, but this is one of the few times that I've actually felt like I've remembered something that he did. Like a lot of times it's like, oh, he was in that? Oh, I forgot completely. But this is one where he's got a character that you can really chew into, because he's a bad guy with, he's obviously very, he's allied with Ben Affleck and everything, so you sympathize with him, but he's got this undercurrent to him that is, oh, this is going to fuck everything up, because he's this way.
He can't help it. He's unhinged.
Right.
And there's something about watching movies about Boston where things run so deep there. I mean, it's the same thing in like Chicago and some in New York, but for whatever reason in Boston, there's such like a tight, same thing in Gone Baby Gone, where like the community, even if they hate each other, like they all come together, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I just want to hug it. I love it that much.
All right, so we talked about The Wrestler, and now here's another Darren Aronofsky movie, Black Swan.
Oh my goodness,
another very good movie. This got Natalie Portman an Oscar.
It did. Deservingly, I think.
I think she's good in this.
She's very good.
Yeah. This is her best performance ever, easily.
Yeah, I think so.
But a lot of crazy stuff going on in this movie, but man, it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and you get a lot of that wrestler stuff in terms of like the camera lingering on physical pain or creaks and groans and whatnot, and what a ballerina really has to put their body through, which is something a movie had never really shown me before. Are you thinking of the Mila Kunis scene right now?
No, I'm thinking of Vincent Cassell because he's the guy who's driving all of that awfulness.
He is.
Yeah, and
that's that moment where he like tells her to go home and masturbate because she's not performing sexually enough.
Yeah.
And then of course what she does, her mom catches her.
Right.
Basically, a lot of uncomfortable to look at stuff, which is part of the point of the story he's trying to tell.
Yeah.
I love it. I thought it was fantastic. And of course, the dichotomy of the black swan and the white swan. And then, Mila Kunis is her darker half competitor / alternate personality / I'm not really positive what happens at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
But I would say it's like The Wrestler with a twisted psychological vibe.
Oh, it's a big old mindfuck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And has some freaky moments.
But I do love after that scene, between Kunis and Portman, and Portman like actually says, I dreamed about you last night. Kunis is one of the funniest lines in the movie where she's like, "Oh, you dreamed about having sex with me? Was I any good?" I love that. But this is a really good movie. And again, like Aronofsky had been doing all these really hyperkinetic movies, and then he does The Wrestler and he does Black Swan. And it's almost like he's just sort of like, man, I'm tired of doing it. He must have been exhausted after doing Requiem and Pi and all those movies and everything. He was like, I'm going to do something like a little bit more, has less going on in it and everything.
Well, and this is the movie where Natalie Portman met her husband, Benjamin Millipede, who was the ballet basically consultant for this movie. I think he even plays the male ballet dancer.
Yeah.
And they're about to have their second child, I think. So marriage is still going strong.
There you go.
There you go.
Good for Natalie Portman.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah. Also in 2010, Tangled.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This was, I think, a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, this was really the first time Disney, without Pixar, made something that was a mega hit that, in a long time, obviously. But it started a weird tradition of Disney basically remaking a lot of things. Like, this is Rapunzel with a twist, and then you started seeing all the live action remakes, which were that with a twist, and so Tangled, while it was really good, we'd accept that like in small doses, but it really launched them into going, we have all these properties, see? We're going to make them all again, see? Everybody's going to enjoy them, see?
They all have cigars hanging out.
Yeah, they're all Edward G. Robinson and stuff now all of a sudden. But yeah, I mean, it was good.
One of the reasons I think it succeeds is the songs are really winning and singable, and it's got that lighting of the lantern scene where the animation is just incredible. And I think that and the songs really connected with people and started them down the path that, would go to Frozen and Wreck-It Ralph and what's the one that they just... Zootopia.
Yeah.
So, this was a big movie for them, but you said Pixar, and that Pixar had a pretty big movie this year, too, with Toy Story 3.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Massive hit. I still, to this day, say 3 is better than 2, 2 is better than 1, 2 and 3 are completely unnecessary.
Man, I guess I agree with you, but I'm just... that's my problem with Toy Story 3. It's the same story again, except for a really emotional ending, and the ending is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the few moments in a movie that I've actually been like,
yeah.
I'm gonna cry a little bit.
You really think it's unnecessary, though? I mean, yes, it trades on the same soil, but the whole putting it in like a daycare and all that stuff, and the beginning of the movie is a little emotional too, where he's packing up everything. Woody is supposed to go in one box, but he ends up in the other. And, I mean, setting it in that setting, of course, putting Ned Beatty as the big evil bear and everything in there,
Lots
too.
of hugging bear.
Exactly. I thought was clever. It's as winning as ever. The performances, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, are as good as ever. And I think just adding that little twist is enough for me to where I could watch this movie on its own and still it would be a great
What
movie.
I really like is the addition of Michael Keaton as the Ken doll.
Yeah.
And he's a little creepy with Barbie, but he is a source of constant comedy in this movie. And yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem, I guess, that it exists. It just doesn't feel like a universe I need to keep continuing to go to over and over again.
Yeah, the whole thing is always, oh no, they're not at the place where they live. That's pretty much it. Toy Story 2 was, oh no, they're in Al's Toy Barn. Oh no, Toy Story 3, they're like...
But they don't have a home in this. That's what they're searching for. They're not searching for a home. They're searching for a method to be played with. And they're all happy when they get to the daycare. They're like, okay, cool, we're good, we're in the right place, and half of them are accepting with the whole like structure and everything until they meet the toddlers. But like I think it has enough of a right or left turn on it to where they don't have a home to go to.
It still boils down to not getting played with.
Yeah, it's always something where they have to go on some adventure to either get back or, okay, in this case, the ending of this
Well, and
movie.
in the first movie, it's Woody. Am I not going to get played with now that the shiny, brighter new toy is here?
Right.
In the second movie, it's I'm not going to get played with because a collector stole me and I'm worth money. And the third movie is I want to get played with. That's why I'm happy I'm here. Oh, wait, they're sucking on my head, not playing with me.
Yeah.
And how the hell did any of those toys not ever get slobbered on by Andy's little sister?
Yeah.
Can you tell me that? Why are they all so surprised by the toddler behavior at the daycare? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But no, I really like this movie, and that ending really seals it, I think.
Yeah, it's the same here. I enjoy this movie a lot. I mean, it's a good, solid top 10 movie of this year and everything. But man, I just wish it was something new that they're exploring with that. All right, what else?
They're sucking on my head.
Yeah. Let's just finish off the big animated movies and talk a little about How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay. Yes.
This was a massive hit for DreamWorks. I think there are people who would fight you if you told them to their face you didn't like this movie. And it's really fun. It's really solid. The character design on the dragon that he meets, Toothless, is fantastic. I don't know how you make a scary killer dragon that damn adorable, but they did it. They gave it just enough kitten, I guess.
Yeah.
And we're not really covering a ton of new ground in terms of the coming of age story that they're trying to tell. But it sure is winning and charming, and it's a breeze of a movie that I think most people would enjoy.
One of the things about this movie is the look, and that is how they got Roger Deakins, who was a longtime Coen Brothers cinematographer, to do consulting on this. And that's why everything looks so gorgeous on this. Yeah. And this is one of the first times we talked about Kung Fu Panda was one of the first times we actually enjoyed a DreamWorks movie for a change. And then finally they're getting into like more adult territory, quote unquote, where it's not about references anymore, and it's more about let's tell this story instead and everything. And I really appreciate How to Train Your Dragon. And Jay Baruchel is perfect. He's a perfect cartoon voice. He always has been. And I've always liked that guy, and he's just great as as this guy. So I mean, it's I really enjoyed it, and it's maybe not as good as Toy Story 3 but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, and they put a lot more attention to detail in this. This was what we were talking about with the Shrek movies, is that they went for the broad strokes rather than the details and that kind of thing. It definitely put that more so in that. Definitely in the look, too.
Yeah, so really enjoyed this.
Yep, good one.
All right, what else, guys?
Well, speaking of mindfucks, going back to Black Swan, Shutter Island came out.
Yep,
that was another mindfuck.
Yep.
We probably shouldn't talk too much about this movie because the ending is its own entity, and it really kind of switches everything up. But getting to that is still fun, too.
Yeah, it's an interesting movie because there are a lot of parallels to Inception in this movie.
Yeah.
You have the lost wife that haunts him, and he keeps, that's what drives him through all this investigation. And
you have Leonardo DiCaprio.
You have DiCaprio. And this is a sort of departure for Martin Scorsese too. Like it just doesn't feel like a Scorsese movie at any point during this thing. But yeah, it's an interesting movie, and you're right. The ending is one of those that I think I guessed it. I actually guessed it in the first 5 minutes.
Really?
I did.
Wow.
I did. And I don't know. I think I just already had set myself up with what was going to happen in this movie, but there were some details that I noticed very early on that said, all right, that's what's going to go on. So, and it may have affected my enjoyment a little bit because I knew what was going to happen. But that said, still a decent movie.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, talk about a look and a mood. As soon as you get on the ferry to go out to that place, you're immediately filled with dread, but also like a sense of wonder because you have no idea what's lurking around the corner.
This is based on a book, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's another one. Isn't it LaHaye again?
I think it is.
So, yeah.
I think it is Dennis Lane.
Yeah, I liked it. I saw it one time. I wouldn't say I called it, but I was not surprised by it. But I still think the movie plays, even if you guess the ending, I still find the way they have that play out to be very satisfying.
Yeah, I mean it's much, even if you are expecting it, it's much more intense than probably you may be expecting.
It's an ending a lot like that reminds me a lot of The Pledge.
Yeah.
The way Jack Nicholson is at the very end of The Pledge reminds me of how Leonardo DiCaprio is at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you're just like sitting there just shaking your head going, oh my God, this I don't feel good.
Yeah.
Don't feel good about anything I just saw. But it's still fun. It's a fun movie to watch. All right. I'll go through a few where we don't need to talk about too much. Alice in Wonderland, the reason why I want to bring that up is because it benefited so much from Avatar because it was 3D, and 3D before Avatar, hardly anybody was going to see it. Then Avatar comes out and it's like smokes the box office. Alice in Wonderland 3 months later comes out and suddenly everybody's, I'm all about 3D now because Avatar is awesome. And this movie is terrible.
It really
I can't
is.
take it, man. I just can't.
Yeah, it's awful. It continues Tim Burton's streak of kind of screwing up known properties,
Yeah, I don't have a thing good to say about it. I really disliked it.
Yeah, at this point in Tim Burton's career, it's just odd seeing him make these movies. Like, you look at all the original stuff he did in the 80s and 90s. Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, and the different take on Batman and all this other stuff. You're like, man, this guy's exciting, and Ed Wood and all that. And you're like, man, this guy's really on a different level here. And then just now everything he comes out with is a remake of something. We've seen Alice in Wonderland a million times. And speaking of Disney doing the live action remakes, it really actually started there, actually. But not much to say else about that.
No, fuck it.
Twilight Saga Eclipse. We don't need to talk about that. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. I do want to talk about that a little bit. Doesn't need to be in 2 parts, does it?
No, it does
not. At all.
This
is the classic reason. This is a better excuse than any to point to Hollywood why they should stop splitting these up, because you gave me 2 hours of build up and setup. Then you made me wait a year for all action and payoff.
Yeah.
And I end up feeling neither experience. And even if it's 3.5 hours long, give me all of that at once, I might actually walk out of Deathly Hallows saying that was fantastic. I don't do that in this case.
It's the only one out of the series, really, that you can look at and say that's not good.
Yeah.
Everything else has at least a solid. It's a solid C or B minus. This is further down the rating scale because it just it doesn't stand alone at all.
It really doesn't.
It doesn't need to be there. You could have done that whole thing with them in the woods in like 30 minutes and called it a day.
Absolutely.
And then, let's see what else. Oh, there's still a lot of other animation. Of course, Shrek Forever After we don't need to talk about. Despicable Me came out also this year, and that was a big thing for Illumination Entertainment, which has now become Pixar in a lot of people's eyes, although I didn't really like Despicable Me.
Oh, really?
When I watched it. Yeah, I just didn't. Do you like it?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the Minions have become ubiquitous at this point.
Yeah.
But I really liked Steve Carell's performance.
Now, Steve Carell, again, he's great in this.
Yeah, and, the way it's, a whole character arc where, like, he gets control of, or he gets possession of these kids and everything, and they really start finding the heart in them and everything. I think it's certainly not amazing, but I like it a lot.
It reminds me of Bad Santa in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
Totally. Iron Man 2 also came out, was the third highest grossing movie this year, and that was awful.
It's horrible.
It was just awful.
I got your bird.
Yeah.
It's your bird.
Yeah.
Not
It's,
my
it's
bad.
another movie that already in the second Iron Man movie, we're already introducing too many characters. Sam Rockwell, who's great, you could just make him the villain.
Yep.
But instead, let Mickey Rourke, he's got some like freaking like vendetta against the Stark family because everybody does apparently, Did
you like Mickey Rourke in this movie?
Oh, he was okay.
I mean, there's some people that point to his performance and say like, "Oh, well, this is okay in the whole movie arc of Iron Man."
No,
like, he's a good villain.
No, he's fine. It just,
But he got this role, interestingly enough, because of The Wrestler.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That revived him, and now he's that big of a name star. It's just a sloppy movie. Sloppy. I did read an article the other day that was interesting that suggested at one point before Robert Downey Jr. became involved, Sam Rockwell was who they were looking at to maybe play Tony Stark. And he could pull that off.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway.
All right, what else, guys?
What about True Grit?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I don't really like the old John Wayne Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I hate them. It's more like John Wayne and how Arnold Schwarzenegger he is in terms of his delivery and what a caricature he is. So I think I saw the original True Grit like once.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, especially Matt Damon's
hilarious.
needlingly hilarious in this movie. Haley Steinfeld is great in her role. Jeff Bridges, not necessarily reinventing the wheel here, but great as a cranky old guy paired up with, kind of reminds me of Bad Santa. No, I really like True Grit a lot.
Yeah, the original John Wayne version was a little bit of a departure for John Wayne because he was playing this gnarly old bastard, Rooster Cogburn.
Yeah.
Where like he was trading on his good guy, 1,000-yard stare persona and playing like, kind of a drunk that stumbles into this adventure and everything. And I like it, but I love Jeff Bridges. And Jeff Bridges is in my mind, from Big Lebowski on, is playing some sort of derivation of the dude.
He is, because he did it in Crazy Heart.
Yeah.
As well.
He did Crazy Heart. He did it with the Tron Legacy
Yeah.
redux.
Oh, the one where the seventh son, he's basically Rooster Cogburn in a fantasy.
He's always talking like this, and I'm very old, and I'm tired of this. That's the way he is in these movies now. But he's great in this. I mean, it always works when he does it. It's just that he does it a lot.
Yeah, and it's interesting that this is a Coen Brothers thing.
Yeah.
That have they ever done another remake?
The Lady Killers was one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Lady Killers was one.
But certainly not as well known as True Grit.
And no, not as true. Not True Grit. No,
I think they wanted to make a Western.
Yeah.
The way No Country kind of feels like a Western, but I think they wanted to make a true Western, and I think they succeeded.
Well, and this has also a pretty good like action scene in it too, where the shooting from like gobs of yards away or whatever and everything. And it's one of those again, like that's how you shoot action right there. Is you can see where everybody is, and it's tense and perfectly done. So
yeah. It's also interesting to see how Haley Steinfeld's career is turning out.
Yeah.
Because she was absolutely precocious in this movie, and she's great in this.
Yeah.
I mean, she was really, really good.
Yeah. I love how she keeps saying she's not going to be this great beauty, and then like the older version of herself comes in, and they're all they all like confirm it or whatever,
But you could definitely tell that she had star power in the same sense as like Anna Paquin when she was a kid, or even Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
And it definitely has paid off. She's got Edge of 17 that just came out, but then her music career has just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And she was in Pitch Perfect sequel, and she's part of Taylor Swift's squad, so she'll be all right.
That's right.
Yeah.
She was in Bad Blood.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Easy A.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Emma Stone. If you don't like Emma Stone, if you don't love her by the end of this movie, then you're crazy, and I don't understand you.
Yeah.
But more than that, if you don't come away from this loving her parents,
Yeah.
which is Stanley Tucci, I forget the woman's name, but they have so many. They're basically like former hippie, really good hands-off kind of parents. But I was just rewatching some scenes earlier today, and they're like, she's telling them she got in trouble at school for saying a bad word, and they're like, well, what's it start with? And she says T, and so they're like T for like 30 seconds, going T, and then she ends up having to spell it with P's on her plate. This movie is hysterical.
Yeah, it is.
This is every bit as good as Mean Girls in my book in terms of high school comedies.
Absolutely.
A very loose interpretation of the Scarlet Letter in that it actually comments on the Scarlet Letter.
Mm-hmm.
Great turns from Thomas Hayden Church and Lisa Kudrow.
Mm-hmm.
I just really, really like it. I want to sit down and watch the whole thing again after watching a couple clips today.
You were trying to think of Patricia Clarkson.
That's it.
yeah.
That's it.
But this is a movie that sort of snuck up on me. When I saw the trailers, and I'm already in line for something like this, just because I just dig on high school comedies like this and everything. But I wasn't expecting anything at all from it. And when I watched it, by the time I was done, I was like, man, this is just it's a delight.
Yeah, it really is. That's the best way to put it. She gets that card at the start of the weekend, at the beginning of the movie, that plays I Got a Pocket Full of Sunshine. And the first reaction is, ew, it's the worst. And over the course of this do-nothing weekend where she's home alone, by the end of it, she fucking loves this song. And she's like opening and closing it real fast, going, I gotta. Oh, man, it's so hilarious.
Yeah, Emma Stone is just a winning actress, and I think I've loved her in everything she's in. This is a great. This is one of the. I mean, I don't know if there's been very many others where she's been asked to be the lead in the movie.
There haven't been, no.
Even in Crazy Stupid Love, she's just part of the ensemble there. Yep. And everything, but this one she's actually asked to carry it, and she's just fantastic.
Yeah, no problem at all. She's definitely a movie star.
Best picture of 2010 was The King's Speech.
This is one of these movies that Barrett groans at, apparently. And that may have something to do with, I don't know, therapy or how it's portrayed or something. This is one of those movies that when I saw it, I was like, that was fantastic. Probably never watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very solid movie. And of course, the biggest story out of this was that it was R-rated because of, just the handful of fucks that he has to say in this. And then they had to make, like the Weinsteins wanted to make a PG-13 version where they took out the fucks. And to make more money off of it because we can't bring the kids in to see him say fuck 5 times. I mean, it's overall solid. I was kind of disappointed that it won Best Picture that year, though.
Yeah.
And of course, just like anything, this is a historical piece that just throws history out of the window. Yeah. Because the stuff that happened didn't happen. They're just trying to make the exciting movie and the entertaining movie And Colin Firth is always great, man. I mean, he's always a welcome presence in every movie he's in and everything. And the movie sort of left me cold a little bit.
That's exactly what it is. That's why I don't like this. First of all, it's the standard backlash to an underwhelming movie like Crash getting the Best Picture win, especially over Social Network and Inception.
Yeah,
but it's a cold movie to me. I mean, Jeffrey Rush is perfectly fine. Colin Firth is perfectly fine. Their interaction is perfectly fine. But immediately after watching this, like you said, you don't want to, never going to watch it again. Like I almost immediately forgot it. Like it just didn't have a lasting impact on me.
Yeah, and I think probably if we could look at the ballots, what happened was Inception and Social Network. Third party canceled each other out essentially, and we end up with the Academy loves period pieces. They love period British pieces, and this doesn't get much more British than this. And I think even Helena Bonham Carter's in it.
I don't know. I don't even know if there was much of a sort of a cancel each other out situation, because I remember when this movie came out, it just was a sudden front runner. It was like I remember, I think forever. I was thinking maybe Inception was going to win it, hands down. And then King's Speech came out, and suddenly it had rode that wave of everybody's got to watch this movie. Look how great Colin Firth is in this, and it was just never stopped the momentum that it had and everything. What else, guys?
All right, so 2 really good martial arts films. One is the sequel to Ip Man with my boy Donnie Yen. This is the one where he fights a bunch of guys in white in a dojo, and each of them gets about a 40-punch takedown somewhere on their body, maybe on their face, maybe on their chest. I'm going to watch this scene as soon as I get home. The other one is the 13 Assassins.
Oh, not the Karate Kid?
No, not the Karate Kid. No. Did you ever see 13 Assassins?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's very similar to Seven Samurai in that basically this aging samurai decides to get 12 other badass older warriors to help protect this town. And it really is basically one big long fight at this town with these guys who they know most of them are going to die. It's fantastic. It's really good.
I have to watch that sometime.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it. I don't even know if I know the names of any of the actors in it, but I only saw it on the recommendation of a friend. I actually watched that with Mark. When I was out in California, we put it on Netflix, and we were both like, whoa, that was
Nice.
Okay, another one that was in the Best Picture race and everything, The Fighter.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
This was David O. Russell. He's sort of he starts his groove here, basically, where he starts coming out with a lot of like high profile movies, and this of course is after so many incidents that that was involved David O. Russell, from George Clooney to Lily Tomlin, but he's apparently back on this one, and this is just a terrific performance from Mark Wahlberg, Amy Adams, and especially Christian Bale, who won the Oscar for his performance here. Another Boston movie, you're gonna get caught up in the accents in this one a lot too.
Yeah,
and
another one where if the actor loses or gains a bunch of weight, then you're almost guaranteed an Oscar.
And not even like the first or last time Christian Bale will do that either.
Yeah.
The mechanic or the machinist.
Yeah.
He lost way too much weight for that. But you're right. David O. Russell, from this point forward, almost everything he does gets nominated for some kind of Oscar.
Yeah.
Right? Usually acting, usually Best Picture. He does like American Hustle and Joy. I liked this movie, but I think somewhere around 8 or 9 years ago, I'm done with boxing movies. It's really hard to make me care about it. And I've seen Southpaw. The trailers for this Miles Teller one look great, but I didn't see Creed yet because I'm just burned out. I don't care about boxing. And
that's completely understandable. That's completely understandable because they do come out with just unbelievable amount of these over and over. I think this one is a little bit above that for whatever reason, and I can't really put my finger on it. It's not really a boxing picture, like it's showing you tons of
fighting. It's about the background and everything. And that's why Christian Bale's so great.
Right, yeah.
Melissa Leo's in this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought so. She's great too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's fantastic. What else, guys?
You guys ever seen Exit Through the Gift Shop?
Yes.
Have I seen that?
I feel the same way about the movie as I do most Banksy art.
No,
really?
I have seen this. Yes, I have seen this movie.
I thought it was worth a chuckle, and I thought it was not as smart as it thought it was.
Did you think it was a hoax?
I didn't even care enough to make an opinion. I just liked the part where they put up all that fake art and all the rich people were just like, oh, I'll pay that for that. They're just basically showing how subjective and stupid the art community can be. Not always is. But yeah, I don't really care enough to even speculate.
That's interesting. It's a fascinating movie. There's a lot of stuff to unpack, like both in the presentation of it and actually in the movie itself. So this is ostensibly a movie, or it is a movie directed by Banksy, the legendary street artist that's never shown his face in public because he's a street artist. So he can get easily recognized and arrested. One of the most highly regarded street artists of all time. And the story in the movie is that it's a documentary based on this guy Terry Guetta's footage of street artists, and he gets to hang around them, follow them around with a camera and all that stuff. And he has these thousands of tapes of footage, and he can't put them together, but Banksy does. And then there's this weird thing about how Guetta, in his own right, becomes a street artist and then becomes this Banksy level artist himself. And it's interesting. It's a very interesting narrative if you take it at face value. Now, there's a lot of speculation that Guetta's character is actually Banksy. Also, that this whole narrative is a joke, that he's playing on those expectations, that he's saying, I can make an artist out of anybody and throw this up here and make people feel things and stuff like that and pay money and all this stuff.
It's funny, and I haven't really made this study, but this documentary reminds me, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Orson Welles one called F for Fake.
Mm-mm.
There's an Orson Welles documentary in the 70s called F for Fake, and he's interviewing a real artist and a guy who basically professionally reproduces these artworks and sells them as the real thing or whatever. But there's so much in that documentary where it's like, I don't even know what the hell's going on. Orson Welles is clearly playing with you the entire time. Like, this is such a narrative that it's like not even really a documentary anymore by the time and the whole thing in the title too. And I'm probably sounding really stupid to people who really know F is for Fake or whatever, because
I want to watch it now.
Because it's one of those documentaries that I'm sure has been studied because Orson Welles did it.
Right.
It's been studied time after time, and there's probably like some reasonable explanations. I know when I watched it, I was like, I just don't know what's going on in this thing. I don't know. I'm not smart enough. I'm sorry. But it sort of reminds me of that, because this is sort of puts on the air that it's a documentary, even though it's kind of more of a narrative than it is documentary.
You can watch it either way, as a straight documentary, as a narrative, or even as a comedy, which is what some people have postulated. And I think I would enjoy it either way. I mean, Banksy comes off as arrogant as ever, and as condescending as ever, as does Shepard Fairey, who did the iconic Obama Hope and Change poster, who was a street artist at the time. But it is fascinating to watch, and I would say recommend it. It's on Netflix, so you should check it out.
Another documentary from that year that I really liked is Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
This is the kind of movie that happens when a studio goes, you see that Hangover movie? Let's do that.
Yeah.
And so they go and they get good names, Craig Robinson and John Cusack. I really like Hot Tub Time Machine despite myself, because the first viewing I was like, well, that wasn't as good as The Hangover, and that wasn't as good as The Hangover, and that was, but I watched it again several months later and just laughed a lot. And there's a great running gag with this guy who's lost his arm in the future, and he's the bellhop, and the movie keeps playing on both the characters and the audience's expectations of when he might lose his arm.
Yeah.
And I find that running gag to be really inspired. I think it's worth plenty of laughs.
Yeah. Rob Corddry in this has the best line for me is when, okay, so they've gone back to 1985. I think that's what the year is. And then, and he's on the roof drunk, and there's like all those people yelling at him or whatever. He's like, John Lennon dies. He's like, did that already happen? Yeah, this is an enjoyable movie because it's one of those that it's just ridiculous. It bathes in that ridiculousness. And if a movie knows that it's doing that, then usually you're going to have some fun. And they got John Cusack in this. This is the first time he's probably been in something this weird since Better Off Dead.
Since Better Off Dead, yeah. My favorite part of this is where he ingests all those drugs.
Yeah.
And turns into like Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
Yeah,
it's really funny. I would check it out.
But that bellhop, by the way, is Crispin Glover.
It is. I just couldn't think of his name at the time, and I didn't want to have another public brain fart.
Which is hilarious, though, because it's 1985 and it's Crispin Glover and all that stuff.
The sequel, by the way, is terrible.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine. I didn't see it.
Yeah, I saw that maybe 6 months ago. I was like, man, they really just tanked it on this one.
Yeah.
This is something that just didn't need a sequel, you know? But yeah, this is very enjoyable. What else?
Were it not for my never-ending Denzel love, I would never have seen the Train That Won't Slow Down movie, a.k.a. Unstoppable, which I find to be a really solid action film.
Yeah.
Chris Pine, and I hadn't seen him in anything except Star Trek at that point. They're both playing these blue-collar train guys. Denzel's on the way out, and he likes things a certain way, and Chris Pine is on the way up. And, you know, there's basically an accident with the track, and they have to try and do what they can to stop this train. I think it's loosely based on a real story.
Yeah, I think so.
And I really liked it. I came out going, wow, I can't believe how much I enjoyed that.
Yeah, one of the many Tony Scott, Denzel Washington team-ups over the years.
Yeah.
He did like 5 or 6 movies with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is another one. It's just solid, right? It's just a solid action movie. You wish more movies could be like this. If they're instead of being terrible, like you'd wish they would like every once in a while. Like, oh yeah, Unstoppable. Let's try to achieve at least that.
You need to get Unstoppable levels,
right? Like that should be easy enough, right? But he's also in the Book of Eli.
Yeah,
another one that I enjoyed that I didn't think I was going to like at all. And this was the Hughes brothers who had done Dead Presidents and all that. And man, this is a fun movie. I really just didn't think I was going to like this.
It really is. It's got a great reveal. It's got a great look to it. It's got that kind of like, what would you say, like kind of darkened images and like hyper contrasted.
Yeah.
But it's really, really cool. Mila Kunis shows up and it's kind of got a Bad Santa vibe.
I'm glad that I'm not the only one making that joke anymore.
He takes her under his wing.
Well, Gary Oldman, way over the top.
Yes.
And just makes it, I think, because Denzel's character is so subdued and so quiet. You need somebody on the far end of the spectrum, and Gary Oldman is always willing to chew up scenery. And here he's after this book. Basically, he wants the Bible so that he can control people with religion. But yeah, it's one of those that I was like, okay, it's post-apocalyptic. It's Denzel. I don't know what to expect. And I came out going, well, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, you just get to see him beat up a whole bunch of guys, and it's great. And then it has a great reveal in the end.
Yeah.
What else?
Did you guys ever see Greenberg?
I did.
So Noah Baumbach is doing this movie about a hideously unlikable character played by Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
And at no point in this do you feel any sympathy for him, but you root for the story almost. Like this is an out-of-work musician that crashes at his brother's place and does nothing, contributes nothing to society, is a soul sucker, and just somehow wins the good graces of Greta Gerwig. And it's just a fun, hilarious movie that kind of harkens back to Baumbach's old days where he takes really terrible people and makes them watchable.
Yeah. There's a great letter writing scene in here. I think it's when he's writing to Starbucks, I believe it is. And he's like, you guys have make a lot of great coffee, and for the most part, you're awesome. But it's the other part that sucks or whatever. I'm doing that no justice. But like him writing letters to Starbucks, complaining about their product and everything is just insane. And like, this family leaves him at their house, and he's like, I mean, that's an impossible person.
Yeah,
to just
exactly.
to be responsible. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he doesn't drive. He can't do anything on his own. He relies only on other people. And yeah, it's funny though. It's really funny. It's
funny mainly just because Ben Stiller gets to play a character we never see him play. This is not Ben Stiller that we know him. He's not the funny guy in this. He can be, but it's more because he's just such an asshole.
I'll have to check it out. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Okay. Let's talk about the A-Team. No.
Well, actually, no, because what I was going to say, had you not spoken up, was this year gave us the A-Team. Bad.
Yeah.
Also gave us a little movie called The Losers with Idris Elba and...
Oh, yeah.
That movie is what the A-Team should have been.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a group of misfits that are sent by a shady organization to go do a dangerous mission and, all the exploits they get into after that. It's not an A+. It's probably not even an A-, but it's a solid B+.
Yeah.
And way better than the A-Team.
Yeah, I agree. And I haven't seen it since it came out, but I remember going, I really like that.
Yeah, and Peter Berg actually wrote it. So there's a little bit of pedigree there. Of course, he also made Battleship.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get with Peter Berg.
You really don't, do you?
I think he dabbles in so many things that it's like, all right, well, maybe this will be the good Peter Berg. I'm not sure. But yeah. It was. I think I had that same sort of moment when I watched it. Was like, that's what the A-Team should have been.
Yeah, exactly.
Like right after I watched it and everything. Insidious, I thought I liked it okay. You hated it, probably.
I'm not a fan, but I'm not generally a horror fan anyway. But I'm with you. Yeah, there just doesn't seem to be anything interesting driving these fucking demons anymore. It's always It's always just, we've got just about an hour and a half's worth of them fucking around, and they do something deadly, and the humans get saved. Let's make a sequel.
This is one of the first times on an Everything Wrong video where I was doing the comments and I was losing my mind because there's a part in there where, okay, so they're in the further. It's real, okay? His kid is chained to something in the demon's lair or whatever. So Patrick Wilson is like, I want you to focus. He's like, none of this is real. And we wrote a sin saying, oh, it's fucking real. And what I think we meant to say was all of a sudden, because there's this awareness by the kid that it's not real, his chain magically comes off of his hand. Like he doesn't do anything to take it off, but we know it's real. And I think I wrote something on that where I was saying something about just barking at Patrick Wilson for saying that. And there were so many people who were going, he's just trying to reassure the kid. He's just trying to calm the kid down or whatever. And I was just like having to, like, it was comment whack-a-mole. It was one of those early instances where I was like, oh, we just didn't write this the way we needed to. Anyway, what else?
Sofia Coppola came out with a movie this year that is horrible. It's called Somewhere.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Seen it.
It's Stephen Dorff that it's almost dialogue free. Almost the entirety of the movie. Certainly the first 15 minutes or so are he plays this action movie star that by getting drunk one night falls down the stairs and hurts his wrist, and he has to recover at the Chateau Marmont.
Yeah. Poor bastard.
Exactly. And Elle Fanning is his daughter that comes and they rekindle their relationship. But man, when you get even people call Lost in Translation cold, watch Somewhere.
There
man.
is
it's completely lifeless.
I think there's a point where Sofia Coppola, like she did the Virgin Suicides, which I really love, and Lost in Translation obviously love. But I think she found this style that she likes to tell her movies, and and after a while you start believing in your own bullshit. And I think it happened with her on some of these. And Somewhere is a hard movie to watch.
Yeah.
I know some people who love it, but man, it's a tough movie.
Yeah, and it's not one of those like quiet movies that takes their time that you can really get into. Because I love Jim Jarmusch, but this is not. It
has some mood or some sort of like in Lost in Translation, you got that mood. You've got Bill Murray talking about some very interesting things and everything. And in this movie, there's not any of that really. No. Winter's Bone came out in 2010.
J-Law.
Yes, J-Law. This has introduced everybody to Jennifer Lawrence. She won. I mean, she got nominated for an Oscar for this. And this is the only time I remember where she's just been they made her to look just plain as possible too. Like everything after this has been like glamour stuff for Jennifer Lawrence, but she is incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
Incredible. Like and she's only like 20, I think 19 or 20 when she did this movie. And just basically just drives this movie forward. It's great. So good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fantastic. Not quite as good as Tron Legacy.
No.
But still good.
Yeah, totally.
I really like Tron Legacy.
Me too, dude.
And I love, it's Michael Sheen's character in that.
Yeah.
That does the full-on Bowie treatment to his character. And he got that scene in that club, which is so ridiculous. They put a club in the middle of this whole like digital area and everything where everybody congregates. And you have Daft Punk playing and then mayhem ensues and they're throwing discs all over the place. I love that scene so much.
Oh, yeah. It's so frenetic and crazy. We've talked about this movie on the podcast before. I just love the tone and the mood and the color. And I could watch it anytime. It's not great. But
this is one of those movies that maybe one scene probably drove me out of it more than anything. And it was the Garrett Hedlund, Olivia Wilde scene where they're looking out into the whatever. And Garrett Hedlund is trying to explain to her all this stuff that she doesn't understand because she's a digital fucking thing.
Right.
And at the end of it, he's like saying something about, oh, it's totally beautiful. And he means her basically. And she turns like she kind of understands what he's talking about, even though during this entire conversation she's like, I don't understand these concepts and everything. And that's one of those things where I'm like, fuck you didn't understand what he just said. But I haven't seen Tron Legacy since it came out, so I'm sure if I watched it now I'll be like, oh, okay, I see what you guys are seeing in this.
That's fun.
Yeah, fuck it. The Other Guys came out. This is another fun little Adam McKay comedy. Yeah, man. And especially with the thing with The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson and everything. Love that scene. They jump off the building. And like in every action movie, it's like they're going to survive this somehow, but they just land and thud into the sidewalk. It's the thing that immediately got me into this movie. And but it paves the way for Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell that is a team up right there. That is a crazy team up. And of course Will Ferrell is married to Eva Mendes of all people and everything. But yeah, this is a funny movie.
Oh man, they play off each other really well. That first scene where it's just like, can you stop smiling? You got to stop smiling. It's like, hey, I'm just sitting here doing my work. It's fine. It's a very important part of the Force.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a funny movie. And also, since we talked about a bunch of animation, Will Ferrell was also in Megamind, which was a huge hit.
Yep.
And if you look at the top 15, it's almost half animation this year. It's a crazy amount of animation that came out this year. But anyway, I guess I'll start rattling them off.
Yeah, I don't have any left on my good list.
Okay. We mentioned briefly The Karate Kid, which was weird. A weird movie that got Jaden Smith his start. And I don't think we ever thought that Jaden Smith would be somebody we talked about in this way 6 years later or whatever. He's just isn't he just kind of a weird dude now?
Oh, yeah. He posts some of the weirdest stuff on Twitter. He's an androgynous model. I think he made a song. Yeah, well, more power to him.
Yeah, totally. But I think this movie, a lot of discussion was around the fact that there was no karate in this movie.
I will admit right here and now, I never saw it. I love the original too much to watch some bastardization of it.
It was
have Jackie Chan.
Tremendous hit, and I remember watching it going, it's not the original Karate Kid. What could be? But I kind of sort of enjoyed it when I watched it. I didn't know Jaden Smith was going to be weird later. Let's see. The remake of Clash of the Titans, which was terrible. Yeah. Little Fockers, which was terrible. The Last Airbender was terrible. Jackass 3D. That's an interesting one. Movie basically required to have a sellout audience. You need to be in the sellout audience to enjoy it.
I could see that. Yeah.
When you watch this by yourself, it's like, man, there's a lot of gross and a lot of like painful stuff going on. Who cares? But when it's like 200 people in an auditorium, suddenly you get caught up in a wave on that.
Yeah, that's how those things typically go.
Yeah. So yeah. Valentine's Day, which is the start of like a ton of all these like day movies that like Gary Marshall was behind. And yet another Robin Hood Who Gives a Shit.
That was Ridley Scott.
Russell Crowe was Robin Hood. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which I actually don't remember anything of this movie. In fact, when we asked about when it was 2005 and we were like, did they go to Voyage of the Dawn Treader? I was like, yeah, I think so. But I just couldn't remember the movie. And it, The Expendables. Yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff here.
There
I mean, The Expendables is okay for whatever it is, but Due Date wasn't good. That was Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Yeah, not a very good movie. And I don't remember this Yogi Bear fucking movie coming out, and it made $100 million.
Holy shit. No, I don't remember it either. Vaguely, maybe.
Yeah. Date Night, which was Steve Carell and Tina Fey, not very good.
I thought that was kind of fun.
It's fun. It's got fun moments.
Yeah.
Another movie with Mila Kunis in it, by the way.
Yeah, and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg.
Well, the funny thing about this was I like this movie because it's very humanizing to those two lead characters. And there's a scene when they're coming back on the train after all this stuff has happened and like the mob is after him. And Steve Carell's like, man, or Tina Fey is saying like, they're going to come after us and they're going to whack us off.
Oh, yeah.
And Steve Carell takes a beat and he's like,
Yeah.
whack us off.
Yeah.
And she gets it and she's like, yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. 2 insipid book adaptations, Eat, Pray, Love, and Dear John came out. Night and Day. I know a lot of people like Night and Day in this room.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
A lot of people. We got 3 people in this room.
What is Night and Day?
That's the Tom
Tommy
Cruise.
and
Oh,
Cameron
I
Diaz.
enjoyed it more than most.
Yeah. And a lot of people like this movie. And
I thought it got bad reviews.
it did. And I watched it and didn't like it, but I run into a lot of people who enjoy this movie.
I think I just want there to be more movies like True Lies, where they're like true action films that are also cheeky and cartoonish. And this was going for that vibe. It just doesn't always hit it. But I do love Tom Cruise in the beginning, how little he explains to her before they really get going. I like it more than most.
Dinner for Schmucks, another Steve Carell movie with Paul Rudd.
That was panned, wasn't it?
It was very panned, but I don't know. Another movie where Steve Carell, I think, is really good, and he feels so bad for him in this because it's about a bunch of like elites inviting these like people who are strange to dinner, and they're trying to win a bet basically by who got the strangest person. Zach Galifianakis is in this too. Yeah. But there's some moments in this. I mean, I wouldn't write it off completely, but man, and I'm looking at some horrible stuff here. The Tourist was a terrible movie. The Bounty Hunter, terrible. I didn't see Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I heard that was okay. The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which was Nicolas Cage and Jay Baruchel. That awful remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street came out. Yeah. The Wolfman, Get Him to the Greek came out, which we talked about a little bit. Secretariat, I mean, come on. It was, I mean, I'm looking at a lot of Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps. That was a terrible sequel.
That was awful.
They should have never come out with that. Kick-Ass came out in 2000.
Kick-Ass was all right.
Yeah, I like Kick-Ass quite a bit. And that's sort of the Chloe Grace Moretz showpiece, basically.
Yeah.
Because you would never think a 12-year-old girl would say the stuff that she says in this. She calls a bunch of people cunts in this. And,
yeah. Oh, and does a lot of murder.
Yeah, and does a lot of murder and everything. Cop Out, which I'm pretty sure Kevin Smith would tell you was an awful and miserable experience and everything. Yeah. I actually recently watched Cop Out and I was like, man, I feel so bad for Kevin Smith on this movie.
I think he's made fun of himself a lot.
I'm sure. Yeah, I know. But man, and really, this is a bad year. I mean, overall, bad year. I keep looking at all these in the top 100 box office, just terrible movie after terrible movie. There was a remake called The Crazies. That was a decent horror movie.
Oh yeah, Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah.
That was a pretty effective horror movie.
Yeah, that was a decent one. I never saw The American, which George Clooney was in.
I did see this.
Yeah,
I saw this with my father-in-law. Awkward. Because there's like a 3.5 minute long grunty sex scene in the middle. That's not
grunty.
That's not like edited to be sexy. It's like edited and shot to be like, because I'm pretty sure it's like a prostitute or a girl he just met. This is an assassin movie where almost no one ever assassins.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly just a guy on the run because his organization's now going to try and come kill him. So it's Clooney in tiny little Eastern European towns and tries to have a couple of the Sting style misidentity things. Not great, but very, very memorable for me personally, just because of that awkward 3 minutes.
Paul Greengrass and Matt Damon reteamed for Green Zone. Not a good movie at all.
No.
And I was excited because of the team up. Because
it should have been Iraq War Jason Bourne, but it's not that.
Yeah, it just a movie called Devil, which M. Night Shyamalan did not direct, was producer on. I actually kind of enjoyed Devil.
Yeah, I did too. This is the elevator movie.
Yeah, it's the elevator movie.
Yeah.
And there are a bunch of people trapped on the elevator, and they're trying to figure out who among them might be the devil.
Yeah.
And David S. Pumpkins is there?
Yeah, David Pumpkins. Hereafter, which I don't know if I didn't think I saw that.
Wait, am I right when I qualify Hereafter in my brain as the tsunami movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That was
just checking.
Yeah, it was Clint Eastwood and Matt Damon. Love and Other Drugs.
Oh, my goodness.
You're going to talk about a movie you don't want to watch with your father-in-law.
Oh,
that would be
no
that.
way.
Anne Hathaway is naked like 10 times in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's otherwise a movie about a guy trying to sell Viagra.
Yeah.
Not good. I did not like this movie at all.
Yeah.
I only watched it because my wife's obsessed with Anne Hathaway. So, yeah, I had a few awkward moments there. But no, it's not very good.
Yeah, and Machete came out. All right, I'm ready to vote because this is a horrible year, and I'm sorry if I'm missing anything.
You did forget to say Jonah Hex.
Oh, yeah, I did forget that, didn't I?
His face suggests he did not ever plan to say it.
There was also 127 hours.
Oh, yeah, 127 hours. Now, that's a tough movie to watch,
Yes,
man.
it is.
Yeah.
That was Danny Boyle,
I was
wasn't
going to
Yeah,
say
Danny
Danny
Boyle.
Boyle again, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I knew what it was going in. Still tough to watch. This is one of those few movies I actually stopped looking at the screen for a while because I know what you're going for, but I've already had a mental picture. I don't need the real one.
Yep.
And then there was a minor comedy called She's Out of My League that also had Jay Baruchel in it. I mean, that was his biggest year, was 2010. He was in that. Alice Eve is in it, and Kristen Ritter was the first time I'd ever seen her.
Oh, wow.
Animal Kingdom, good movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a bonkers movie.
Yeah, man. Jackie Weaver got nominated for that. Okay, I think we're ready to vote.
Let's vote her up. All right, today's order is Barrett, Jeremy, and Chris.
All righty.
I am voting wholeheartedly for Social Network.
Okay.
Love it. Love it. Anytime. I love a movie, and A Few Good Men is like this too, also written by Aaron Sorkin, where I can come in any point in the movie and get as much enjoyment out of it as if I watched the entire movie.
Yeah.
And part of it is that narrative structure where he bounces around on the timeline and everything. Great, satisfying ending. Crazy that it's a true story, but that it keeps you guessing almost all the way through. So that's my pick.
It's one of those weird, rare movies where your main character isn't really your protagonist.
Yeah.
Because Zuckerberg's an asshole from the get-go in this movie. Like, the first we see him doing, it's basically slut-shaming girls online.
Yep.
And Eduardo Saverin, he's really the protagonist, both in the future stuff and in the past. I love Social Network. I think it is near perfect, and it's my vote, and Chris doesn't have a chance.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I will say Inception was my number 2 with a bullet, but I got to go Social Network.
I was going to say Inception. That was my favorite movie of 2010. I don't think anything's changed, but Social Network would have been my second. So one of those two was gonna do it. So Social Network. Woohoo! I'm okay with that.
Nice. Close to a consensus.
Yeah. Okay, so how long ago was it we did this?
This was in June.
We did it in June. What episode?
It was episode 23 or 25. Put me on the spot.
Somewhere in the 20s. Somewhere in the 20s, we did a sell this movie thing.
That's right.
So we picked a movie that basically either didn't get its due, or it has been panned, and we like it, and we want to try to convince others. And I remember you saying G.I. Joe Retaliation.
I
and I
did.
wanted to punch you in the face.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But anyway, we're going to do that again. We're going to try to sell some movies here.
Always be closing.
They're selling, Mortimer.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Were you sent here by the devil?
No, good sir, I'm on the level.
We ready to sell some movies?
Let's do it.
All right. Jeremy, you want to start us off?
Okay, motherfuckers. Let's start with The Spanish Prisoner.
Okay.
A movie that I think at least one of you has not seen.
I haven't seen it.
Correct, I haven't.
Okay, neither one of you have seen it.
Nope.
All right.
I tried to look for it, by the way, and it's hard to find.
Okay. Well, this is David Mamet, who is the author, director of State and Maine, a movie we have pimped maybe more than no other on this podcast. And you can tell it's him. But this is not a comedy. There are humorous moments, but this is an espionage thriller, long con. Is there a long con movie? Campbell Scott is the lead. He's invented a new process. They don't really ever get into it. And he's on a company retreat in the islands and bumps into Steve Martin, this super mysterious, wealthy, rich guy. Steve Martin has never been less funny than he is in this movie. He is all mystery here. And basically their paths cross again when they get back to the States. And the whole movie is basically he's worried that someone's going to try and steal this process from him. And it basically almost happens right under his nose. And there's a lot of great actors. Ricky Jay is in this. His Mamet's wife, who was in State and Maine.
Oh, yeah, Rebecca Pidgeon.
Yeah, Rebecca Pidgeon is in this. Has a lot of quotable, mysterious dialogue. Just a great mood of a film in terms of like what you want out of a mystery. Anyway, so that would be my pitch, because if you like State and Maine and you want to see like a con movie that's more serious but has the same kind of feel, that's what that is.
Mamet's really good at that. And a movie that I also can't find anywhere is called Heist, which has got Gene Hackman in it, which is another great one with him. It's also got Rebecca Pidgeon and Ricky Jay in it. But it's another one I can't find anywhere to watch again. But Mamet does that so well, doesn't he? He's got several of those type of movies and everything. And I love it when a comic actor like Steve Martin goes in and does a dramatic role like that, where you're just like, whoa, why are you not being funny? And you're good.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You think Steve Martin, you think The Jerk, or you think, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Oklahoma. And here he's like an older George Clooney. He's flashy, cool, suave, rich, and mysterious.
It reminds me, I remember a guy telling me, I've never seen Razor's Edge, the Bill Murray movie or whatever. I've never seen that, but he was telling me, he's like, man, he's serious all the way through that movie. It's like one of Bill Murray's first serious roles, if not the first. And he said there's a point where he's like doing this big speech and there's like almost a knowing look into the camera and everything. And he nearly busted out laughing because it's Bill Murray, but and as long as they can sort of avoid that kind of that trap and everything of where they're, where you're just not sitting there thinking of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and stuff. It's a fantastic way to, I love it when those, I think it's more often we see the dramatic actor go into comedy and they're funny in that because we don't ever see them do comedy and everything. I think it's really hard for the comic actor to go and do the drama.
I agree. Yeah. Anyway, I would give it 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. You want to sell something?
All right. Well, my movie made all of $300,000 in the box office.
Nice.
Barn burner.
I didn't realize it was that underseen. I knew that it was very underseen because I saw this movie back when I was in college. It came out in 1998. I've talked about it before. It's called SLC Punk.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a fascinating look at a subculture in Salt Lake City, which is the SLC, in 1985. James Marandino was the director, who hasn't done a whole lot of other things since. And it was semi-autobiographical, but there's some really, really good stuff in this. Matthew Lillard has one of the most manic but lovable performances that you'll ever see. If you take his character from Scream and then humanize it.
Well, that would need to be necessary.
And make him real funny and engaging and stuff like that. He's essentially your narrator throughout this whole thing. It takes you through the punk scene, not only in Salt Lake City in the 80s, but just overall. I mean, this is right after the whole explosion came out with the Sex Pistols and the Ramones and the Clash and everything. And they're really in the heyday. And so after college, Matthew Lillard plays this incredibly smart, really forward-thinking anarchist. And he really wants to prove to himself that anarchy is a sensible form of a way of life. But he's got this lawyer's mind. He actually was pre-law in college. And he keeps arguing with himself throughout the movie. And what this is, I kind of gravitate towards the post-college slice of life movies like Kicking and Screaming, Noah Baumbach's movie. And this is what that is. He says, well, the best thing that we can do to rebel against the system is to get an education, college education, and then waste our minds. So they take a year off. He and his friend named Heroin Bob, who has never done a drug in his life. They call him, ironically, Heroin Bob. Jason Segel is in this movie, a very early turn from him. He plays this super hardcore punk that dresses like a nerd. And it's very, very fascinating. The movie kind of goes a little bit off the rails towards the middle of it, but the ending of it is as affecting as you can get in a movie. It's really, really fun. It's got some great punk music in it, and You should watch it almost only for Matthew Lillard, and everything else is just gravy.
Does this movie have a lot of the undercurrent because they're in Salt Lake City that there's there's a lot of Mormons and stuff like that are preventing them from being the way they want to be and all that type of stuff?
The movie starts off with, the thing about me and Hero and Bob was, we hate rednecks. And it shows them, it's a funny like social order. They're like, the rednecks beat up the punks beat up the mods beat up the heavy metal guys beat up the new wave guys, and the new wave guys don't do shit. They're the new hippies.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's very classist. And of course, being in Salt Lake City in that hyper religious Mormon culture, it makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah, I'm also going to mention a movie that I've probably talked about a bunch. In fact, I thought that I had possibly had done this one on the last Sell This Movie, and it may be because I've talked about it so much. But I'm going to say Zero Effect on this one. And the main reason I'm going to bring this movie up again is because we didn't even talk about it in the 1998 year. But it's also a movie that I feel like has just been underserved over these years. It made $2 million in 1998. It's basically a modern, for the 90s, retelling of a Sherlock Holmes, and it's an American Sherlock Holmes. And it's Bill Pullman, and I know that a lot of people think that just Bill Pullman is this one way, and they get him confused with Bill Paxton because of the name. Yeah. This is Bill Pullman's by far his best performance ever in a movie, and he's great in it. And if you want to talk about somebody who's just Jake Kasdan, this is his debut, and he's the son of Lawrence Kasdan and everything. This is his debut, and it sort of explores of what kind of genius that is, what it is to deal with that kind of genius and thought process all the time. He's alone, he's an asshole, he's all these things that, we've come to expect from Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that. And he writes these horrible songs while he's by himself and everything. But his Watson in this is Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
And Ben Stiller is just always this. He's always being asked to do the most craziest of things. Like, he'll take a flight out somewhere, and then he's gonna come back and tell Bill Pullman all this stuff. But Bill Pullman actually goes and flies out to tell him and everything. And he's like, so what? Do you want me to stay here? He's like, no, I need you to go back to L.A. Why couldn't you just told me that in L.A.? What? I don't want to say anything over the lines. They listen. But what we have is a really good mystery too, because Ryan O'Neal is this wealthy guy who's getting blackmailed by we don't know who it is, but his main thing is he's lost his keys to this safe deposit box thing. And so basically all they have to do is find the keys, and he's worried that the blackmailer has the keys and is going to find all this evidence of something that happened in the past and everything. So he wants them to find the blackmailer and all that. But somewhere in the middle of it, we find out that the lost keys are a coincidence, and there's a lot more to this mystery and everything. And it's very funny throughout. It's just funny. Ben Stiller and Bill Pullman play off of each other very well. Like I said, the mystery itself is great, and Kim Dickens in one of her early roles is fabulous in this movie. And I don't know if I've seen her like this since either. But she's very sexy and very I don't know, there's something very intense about her and everything. I don't want to say too much more about it because there's a lot of stuff in here that you're going to find out over the course that you watch it. But I can't recommend this movie more. And it once had they were going to make a TV show out of it with Alan Cumming as Daryl Zero.
Really? Oh, wow.
And it just never got off the ground. But this movie is, there's a lot of stuff in here where I love where Bill Pullman, he says something like these people are a part of plots and we need to help them and all this other stuff. And he's like, and Ben Stiller's like, what, why? He says, because we're the good guys. And Ben Stiller's like, there are no good guys. There are no bad guys. There's just a bunch of guys. And Ryan O'Neal shows up to confront Stiller in one scene, and he's like, He's like, is your boss in that hotel over there? And he's like, no. And he's like, what if I wanted to go and find out right now? And he's like, I'd shoot you. And he's like, are you threatening me? He's like, yeah, I'm threatening to kill you. He's like, I got a gun and everything. And it's just so enjoyable throughout. And I think I don't think it even has a very high IMDb rating either. But you really have to give this movie a chance. I don't know if I think I've said enough about it, but geez, go watch this movie.
Can you get it on Blu-ray?
No, the only place I was able to find it was on DVD, but I have seen it on HBO recently. It's come on like a couple of times recently, which is weird. Like you like randomly on.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a mystery that's great. It's got a lot of these, like, you love seeing how Bill Pullman like figures this stuff out and how he's playing off Ben Stiller and everything, and how Sherlock Holmesian it is, but it's American.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to really describe it. If I say any more, then you're going to lose some of the surprises that are in this movie. So
yeah, it's great. I saw it once or twice back when it came out, and loved it. I just haven't gotten back to it since. So perhaps I will now.
Nice.
Is it my turn again?
It is.
All right, I'm going to throw one out here, and if you guys have both seen it, I'll change to a different one.
Okay.
Have you guys both seen Cop Car?
I've seen Cop Car.
You think I should talk Cop Car?
Yes.
All right.
Although I will say, I think Cop Car was generally well received, although it didn't make very much money, and I don't think very many people saw it. So
yeah, and I was more choosing it on the hopes you guys hadn't seen it. I don't really have too many like shit movies I want to sell you.
But I love Cop Car. Go ahead.
Yeah, Cop Car is this little intimate, almost police horror movie, sort of.
Kind of, yeah.
It opens with two kids, and when I say kids, I'm talking 9, 10-year-old kids who find a cop car out in the middle of nowhere. I think it's in Texas. And like kids are wont to do, they get in and drive it away. And it shows them driving through the fields, and they're going like 9 miles an hour, and the other kid's like, go faster, go faster. They get up to like 30 or 40. They're screaming because they're so scared. They're running through fences. They're weaving all over the road. And we cut back to the same scene, but in the past. And we see Kevin Bacon's cop pull up and pull a body out of the trunk and drag it away to go bury it.
Yeah.
And he has all these, it's so frustrating watching him drag this body because like, it's very difficult work, but he gets the body all the way to the site where he's going to throw it in this well and realizes it's missing a shoe.
Yeah.
He's got to go track his steps back and find it's all this is happening relatively dialogue free. And so he goes back after he's finally disposed of the body, and his car is missing.
Yeah.
And the 30 seconds of his reaction, where he goes back and forth between panic and just disbelief, are amazing. And then he does something I think is ingenious, and he's one of the main cops in this county. He calls dispatch and says he's having trouble with his radio.
He's actually the sheriff, right?
I think he is the sheriff.
Yeah.
Reach me on my cell if you need me. And then he basically has to try and get to his personal car that has a cop radio in it before the kids are found out. And he's, of course, not just trying to get his cop car back now. He's also trying to cover up a murder. And from where it goes from there, I'll just let you enjoy it. It's a very short movie, very low budget, no frills. Thriller that I found to be highly enjoyable.
Yeah, when you see the kids at the beginning of this, you don't know about the dead body, you don't know anything. Still, it's a cop car, and they're in it, and they're like sitting there playing in it and all this other type of stuff, and they do all this stupid stuff as kids do with beer bottles and all this other type of stuff, and you're just expecting Kevin Bacon to show up while they're doing all of that, but that's not the story this movie wants to tell. But yeah, you're like, it's a tense moment because you see these kids doing this stuff and you're like, oh, you are in such trouble. My God. Just for this.
There's even a part where they find the radio and they almost broadcast something.
Yeah.
And he's just about to say, I think the driver tells him cops are doo-doo heads or so, and shit on themselves or something like that. And he's about to say it. He's like, they'll know we're not cops because we have kid voices. And they're like, very wisely put the radio away and keeps the adventure going for a while. I really liked it. It was a very refreshing movie for me. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I would second the recommend on that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, I'll recommend one from 2004 that I don't know if you guys have seen. I've talked about it before. Along Came Polly.
I've never seen
I haven't seen this. No.
So this was originally billed as being Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston's movie. And if you watch it because of that, you'll probably be disappointed. What this movie does have is an incredible supporting cast. Philip Seymour Hoffman and Alec Baldwin are the main supporting characters here. Deborah Messing, Hank Azaria, Masioka from Heroes.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious, especially those scenes with those peripheral characters. The whole thing is about Ben Stiller going on his honeymoon with Deborah Messing, and Hank Azaria is a scuba instructor. And Hank Azaria, man, he is a chameleon. I mean, he can really fit in anywhere, but in this, like, he's all ripped up.
Oh, yeah.
He's all, in like a tiny little bikini brief thing. He's like, would you like to scuba? We can say scuba. We have fish. It's fine, right? And he's got his package all hanging out and everything. And he ends up screwing Deborah Messing on their honeymoon. And so Ben Stiller's all distraught and everything and goes back. And his boss is Alec Baldwin. And Alec Baldwin has this wonderful New York Jewish accent that is terrific. There's a scene in the bathroom that's very uncomfortable where, he's Ruben's boss and he comes up and he uses the urinal right next to him. Of course, he's making all kinds of gross noises. And he's like, are you going to be ready for this? We got a big account coming in. I'm sorry about that 2-bit whore that you were married to. And he's like, well, it was a little complicated. And he's like, forget about it. She was a dime store hooker and she knows it. And no, it's great. The real big addition to this is Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's let loose to do whatever comedically he wants, and he's fantastic.
Oh, yeah?
He plays this former child actor star, that his career never took off afterwards. And so he's always looking for an opportunity to play himself and to really get himself back into theater and everything. And he shoots for the moon with this, and it's fucking hilarious. At the last bit, they're trying to ensure Ben Stiller's character is an insurance risk management guy. And they're trying to ensure this really high-risk executive, Brian Brown's character. And for whatever reason, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character comes in to close the deal. And he looks at this as being less of like, here's me closing the deal because of numbers, as more of a performance piece. And he sits there with all these executives, and everybody's looking at him. He's like, first of all, I want to say, and he goes through this like 30-second thing of cleared his throat. And he ends up selling these people by this stirring speech and everything. And he just like dies at the end. He's like, that's it. That's my pièce de résistance. It's fucking great.
Man, this movie was, I haven't seen it. Yeah. This movie was heavily panned when it came out. And it obviously it's about it's 5.9 on the IMDb too. But I remember seeing the trailers for this and everything. I was like, I'm just going to skip that one. But you have really made me curious as to if this is funny or not, and I may have to watch it and then make fun of you later if it's not.
Oh, it's funny, man. I mean, you will not be not laughing anytime Philip Seymour Hoffman and Alec Baldwin are the team. I mean, the
thing, right? There's a lot of like really good actors in this, and they're just kind of allowed to do whatever they need to do.
It's funny as hell. That basketball scene is great. There's a scene on the elevator where it's a crowded elevator, and Philip Seymour Hoffman looks around and is like, God, I'm so freaking horny. It's great.
Okay, so we mentioned this when we did 2005, but I'm going to defend someone who we like to take pot shots at. The Island, Michael Bay.
Oh yeah.
He is a hard director to defend on any level at all. When there are only a couple of movies before this that you could really say I kind of enjoyed that, but it wasn't really because of him, like Bad Boys.
Right.
It's really because of Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. You might like that movie. The Rock is mainly because Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery are so good. But this one, there's not like dynamic performances here. Mm-hmm. It's really the concept more than it is Bay. Mm-hmm. But this is taking sort of your Logan's Run type of story here, but it's not anything new, but I would say give this a chance because this movie didn't do anything at the box office when it came out. and it's just got that neat concept. You've got all these people who are in this facility who are really dying one day to win the lottery and go to the island. And the island is where, you finally are free to do whatever you want. You're on basically like lifelong vacation or whatever. But they've been told that there's a contamination outside that that's the reason why they can't go out. And they're just survivors of this, this big contamination that happened and everything. And, so mainly you have Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson. And Ewan McGregor is fun, and Scarlett Johansson is fun in this because basically, as Sean Bean later says, they're basically 15-year-olds because they don't know anything about sex or anger or any of this type of stuff. And it's not I don't think it's revealing too much to say that they're not there because of they're not survivors of some contamination. They got to figure out what that is. And I just always love these type of sci-fi concepts. Sort of the idea that the world that they think is whatever it is isn't what it is, and of course it's, they get out, they see what the world really is and everything. And there's some amusing little exchanges with Ewan McGregor, and I don't know if I want to say if there's a good exchange with Ewan McGregor and another character in this. Should I say it?
It's an old enough movie.
I guess it's an old enough movie, but Ewan McGregor runs into himself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a sort of a fun thing where Ewan McGregor, the one from the island, is like, why do you speak in a different accent? And he's like, and Ewan McGregor's like, I'm from Scotland, and Scarlett Johansson's double or whatever is an actress who's basically Scarlett Johansson. In fact, her name is Sarah Jordan. It's the same initials and everything. I mean, there are some Bay stuff in here that's going to make you roll your eyes because in probably every movie, he has a highway scene where everything goes crazy. In fact, I think this movie, it either took something from Bad Boys 2 or some other movie he did later in Transformers took from the island.
It's that.
The exact scenes from this to just splice it in later.
He puts some CG over it to change one or two of the vehicles, but you can tell it's the same shot.
Yeah. And he does this in every movie. There's always got to be some highway scene where all the cars are exploding and you're sitting there going, man, you're doing really good up until this point. And it's basically these huge ass barbell looking fucking things that Ewan McGregor somehow pushing out easily onto and of course the guy driving the truck, he's oblivious to all these barbells coming off his truck and all the destruction going on behind him and everything. But overall, this is just one of those where the concept wins over all the other bullshit. And for about 45 minutes or so, it's just in that facility. Michael Bay has no other choice but to be sort of a reserve director. It can't be explodey and, loud and all that other type of stuff. And grunty. So I would give that movie a chance, even though it's in no way great. I'm not going to tell you that this movie's great. This isn't like where Zero Effect. I believe this movie is an undiscovered gem of genius. The Island is, it's overall just an enjoyable movie. And coming from Michael Bay, hard to believe.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Good pick. You want to do questions?
I think we should move to questions.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth. I am listening.
If you would choose two characters from the same actor and put them together in a road trip / hangout movie together, which two would you pick? By the way, thanks for responding to my last question. Keep it up, guys. Thank you.
So we've done another one of those questions.
Good.
Keep asking inventive questions, and your odds of having them read are even better.
Chris?
Okay. Ever since Chris Evans was Johnny Storm and then became Captain America, I've wanted to see a Johnny Storm Captain America.
Oh, that's great.
Man, Johnny Storm would annoy Captain America so much.
I know. Wouldn't it be great?
It'd be amazing.
It'd be awesome. And imagine them in a road movie together. Holy shit. They wouldn't need to drive in a car, but it'd be awesome. But I've always, because of course Fantastic Four is done at Fox and all the Avengers stuff is being done Marvel and Disney and all that. The fact that he crossed over to play Captain America isn't a big deal. But for me, when I see this is all part of a grand scheme Marvel universe and everything, and even though they don't have Fantastic Four and they don't have X-Men and all this other type of stuff, it always was amusing to me that the same actor played two characters who are in two big characters in the Marvel universe. And it would be nice to see them somehow interact. Somehow, some way, I would love to see a whole movie of that.
Yeah, that's nice.
Great. Yeah.
I wrote down Jason Bourne and Mark from The Informant. Both
Nice.
Matt Damon characters. And so basically, you take Frankie Potente out of the Bourne identity, and you put in this guy who just cannot stop spouting random facts about butterflies and corn and all the stupid shit he says during that whole movie. And I even wrote to my notes and you guys, I'm fairly certain before this journey's over, Bourne is going to kill this guy.
Well, yeah, and
just to shut him up.
Well, not because he's annoying, but because he's going to say all the stuff that is going to get them in trouble.
He's a terrible spy.
Right, yeah.
He's bad at all the tradecraft.
Yeah.
So I just think that'd be really funny to watch him have to slow burn over this guy who's really geeking out about being a spy and won't shut up.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Funny.
Oh, yeah.
This immediately brought to mind 1997 for me in Al Pacino's two roles in Donnie Brasco and The Devil's Advocate.
Oh,
wow.
And I kind of had this fantasy of getting them together in a bar where they just kind of sidle up to each other and they start talking about if one protege is better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Satan, John Milton, starts talking about Keanu Reeves and how great he is and he's a winner and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lefty Ruggiero talks about Johnny Depp and how he's great. And
you can spot a Fugazi miles away.
And I just kind of in my head picture this escalating argument about like who's better, and it all devolves into Pacino yelling at each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't make the rules, Kevin.
And then right before they part ways, Donnie Brasco Pacino is going to ask if he can borrow some cash.
You get some fazools.
Yes.
But yeah, eventually it goes into Pacino-ness and like explodes.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Should we do one more round of this? Because this is fun.
Sure.
All right. Go ahead, Chris.
Man, I've got two more written down here, but I'm going to go with Matthew McConaughey as Rust Cole and True Detective and Wooderson from Dazed and Confused. Because if you want to talk about two as far apart characters as there is in any kind of medium, it's Rust Cole, who is humorless, and Wooderson, who is just this fun-loving, way too old, for what the crowd he wants to hang out with type of guy, fun-loving guy and everything. Now, can you imagine them? Now, see, Rust Cole, obviously in True Detective, there was a lot of driving and talking scenes.
Yeah.
So you could easily see something where Wooderson is in the car and he's just sitting there talking about his philosophy of life, man. And then Rust Cole just, somehow playing off of that, if you had something where he's saying, hey, I get older and the girls stay the same age and everything, and Rust Cole would have some sort of philosophy about it, probably.
Time is a flat circle.
Yeah, time is a flat circle, man. Don't matter. Age is just a number.
Nice.
So yeah, that's the
Oh my God.
Is it me?
Yep.
I want to see Tom Cruise from Tropic Thunder and Tom Cruise from Magnolia scream off.
So good.
Oh, yeah.
Because Frank Mackey would be like, you want me to teach you how to tame the vagina?
Oh my God.
Les Grossman would be like, bend over and fuck your own face. And then it would just be off to the races from there.
Man, that would be so amazing. I would pay all the dollars to watch that movie.
Oh my God.
That's just one that came to mind that would be fun. Like it's very similar to your Pacino idea in the sense that it's really going to be best when they start screaming at each other.
Yeah.
But neither one of those guys is going to take either of the other guy's shit. They're both going to still think they're top dog in that situation. Should be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And I actually doing a little bit of your theme from the last one because I thought about Ben Affleck in The Town and Ben Affleck in Good Will Hunting.
Oh, wow.
It would be something like where they pull a bank job and Chucky fucks it up some way because he's talking too much or something like that. And then they have to get out of town and it's the two Afflecks together. And Chucky just can't stop running his mouth and that kind of thing. And he's getting all drunk and everything. And meanwhile, the town Ben Affleck, Doug McRae, is plotting how to knock the other Ben Affleck off with making it look like an accident, And that's the whole road trip thing. I would
gives
totally
a whole
watch
new
that.
meaning to the speech much. Like, you could have Doug McRae give I just want to pull up to your house one day and have you not here.
Yeah.
Like, it gives it a whole creepy under.
Yeah, it would. Oh, my God.
Here's the next one. If you could have two film series crossover, what would they be? And what clever name would the movie get? Well, I'll give the listener some credit here. Like me, Jason Bourne meets Die Hard, Born to Die Hard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, give
what
it
do you
to
guys
me.
think?
You know, it's funny. I actually did not see the clever name part. I just saw the two film series. And I saw the theme that you guys were writing those titles, but I was like, well, this one may not have one. But anyway, I've always wanted to put Gremlins and The Purge in the same movie. I've always thought that would be awesome because you would have Gremlins running around on Purge night and all the rules involved with both of those movies. and I just imagine just having where, like, somebody obviously had like a mogwai and he knew it was Purge night and he's like, I'm going to start fucking chaos. And he just like starts watering his mogwais, feeds them after midnight and says, run my pretties, you know, and they just run amok through the fucking town.
Oh my God,
and everything. And like, I was just imagine like there's going to be some people out there who want to kill somebody, but they can't because gremlins are fucking around. And then, you know, so you have gremlins that are good guys in some instances and they're bad guys in others and everything. And I just think that would be a fun fucking movie.
Yeah, that is great.
Awesome.
You know?
That sounds awesome.
I'm in. All right, so I'm going to go with Heart and Souls, which is a movie I've talked a lot about, where four dead spirits get to take over Robert Downey Jr.'s body to do the one thing that would have made their life complete. And I'm going to mash that up with a little Iron Man.
Oh.
So here the four spirits get to take control of Tony Stark.
Oh,
shit.
my God.
In or out of the Iron Man suit.
Yes.
And fulfill their last, big wish in life before they died. And I didn't come up with a clever title for that, but I'd probably just call it
Hey, I mean,
Heart and Iron Man.
well, there is something about Tony's heart, though, right?
Iron Souls.
There is. So
Iron Souls.
Iron Souls. Heart and Souls probably just still works.
Jeremy's Iron.
Jeremy's Iron. Here's a ball. Perhaps you'd like to bounce it.
Here's a ball. Perhaps you'd like to bounce.
All right, I'm going to mash up a comedy with a very serious movie, My Dinner with Andre and Ted, and call it My Dinner with Ted.
Oh, shit.
Ted the teddy bear?
Exactly.
Oh, Jesus.
So what I want to see is Wallace Shawn eating dinner with the character Andre Gregory, but replace him with Ted. And Ted is like profane, getting drunk and like belligerent and all that shit. But Wallace Shawn is paying rapt attention to him the whole time.
Yeah.
Really taking everything
Like he's
so
Andre
seriously.
Gregory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, My Dinner with Ted.
Yeah. I would watch the fuck out of that movie.
I would watch it for sure.
Well, this isn't a film series. Inception is not a film series. But sort of merging that with A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now on paper it sounds cool. I'm sure it's terrible as a but on paper, if you have like Freddy Krueger running around and all these different like dream levels and everything, and replace the horrible. That's the one thing about Inception that I don't like is all the like
the
projections and everything. Those deserved to be a little bit more than just random people shooting the whole time.
They're basically Grand Theft Auto 5 bad guys.
Yeah. And exactly. And while Maul shows up in Leonardo DiCaprio's stuff, this guy would show up in everything and they have to that's basically it. They have to defeat him somehow. And it's something other than I guess in a way in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, they're sort of inceptioning their way into killing him.
Yeah.
But it's not the same type of deal.
And that's what that franchise needs, is some sort of heady take on it.
Yeah, I mean it's something that they've done a million sequels and everything, and I don't think they've ever recaptured that originals.
It's gotten dumbed down over the years.
Yeah, and I understand they're just trying to make a Freddy movie. I get it, but like if they could have something with some different levels in it and putting totems in it and all sort of stuff, I would be all about watching that.
Or if Freddy had different powers depending on how many levels of of dream you go into.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I would totally be down for that.
I want to mash up the Wonder Boys and the Hangover. Because the reason I like the Wonder Boys so much is because of the characters. You've got this aging, has-been, pot-smoking, one-time novelist teacher who can't finish his novel. He just can't stop writing or making choices. You've got Robert Downey Jr., who's into, I think, men, women, desks, lamps. He basically would fuck anything. And then you got Tobey Maguire, who is a compulsive liar, gifted writer, trying some drugs and alcohol for the first time ever, perhaps sexual experiences as well. So basically, I want to put those three in a situation of The Hangover where they spend a weekend or a night and wake up with no idea what happened, and they have to go retrace their steps. And I would call it the Hangover Boys.
Nice.
And I think that would rule.
That's great.
Because I love the Hangover, but it's largely just three white guys. Zach Galifianakis is, the goofy, weird one. But for the most part, there's not much differentiation between the three of them. It's just crazy shit happens.
Yeah.
But I want to see the crazy shit that happens when we've got three distinctly different types of characters.
Yeah,
I think
for
awesome.
sure. Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
I'm going with Citizen Gump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't say anything else. That's it. That's perfect. Roll credits. That's it. I know what you're going for. No, you can say
that's
something.
it. No, that's it, baby. You want to do one more quick one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Which characters or actors have made the best film to TV transition? We could also talk about who made the best TV to film transition.
Okay. So the best TV to film transition seems to be George Clooney. I mean, that's an easy answer and everything, but I guess the couple of answers that I wrote down that you may not think about is Woody Harrelson, who was in Cheers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who has turned that into a career I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
When I watched Cheers and saw his Woody character, I felt like he was typecast as that guy. But he very early on, made sure that wasn't going to be the case. He made sure that he wasn't playing Woody and everything.
Yeah, like White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah. And that was an extremely smart thing for him to do because he could have easily, through the 90s, just been Woody if he wanted to be. But now he's just done a very interesting and varied career.
Yeah, he's been a dumbass. He's been a badass. He's been, somewhere in between, just kind of a goofball at times, like in Kingpin, that kind of thing. But it's way all over the map.
Yeah, I think where he officially shed Woody was Natural Born Killers, because he was, he's got his head shaved and he's just this ultra violent serial killer guy, or mass murderer as he prefers. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you see him pop up in a lot of stuff. And yeah, there's some movies he does that I wish he didn't, like Now You See Me Too and all that other bullshit. But most of the time he's in a movie or whatever, and he's great in True Detective as well. Man, he's just fantastic, and usually in those movies, usually.
Yeah, good one. So in terms of TV to film, I think Clooney is the archetype here. But I went way back to a show my dad used to love, which was St. Elsewhere, and that's where Denzel got his big start.
That's right.
He had a couple of bit roles in films, but his resume from Glory on doesn't happen until after St. Elsewhere, and he is, at this point, acting-wise, probably one of the heaviest hitters. He's definitely A-list like Clooney. And of course, Leo had like a half-season stint on Growing Pains, but I chose not to count that. So I decided to go with Denzel. Denzel and Clooney, I think, have the same track.
How long was Denzel on St. Elsewhere?
I think he was a regular for multiple seasons.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw
He's in the finale for sure.
I never saw the show, so.
Yeah, and I was a little kid. My dad was the one watching it, but I'm pretty sure he was a regular from the get-go.
Yeah, for TV to film, I love Michael J. Fox.
Oh, yeah.
From Family Ties to Back to the Future. That's one of the best leaps that I've ever seen. But I'm more interested in the film to TV because I think that's harder to pull off. At least it always was. Maybe it's easier now. But from film to TV, I think Kiefer Sutherland nailed it. Going to 24, and he kind of helped usher that whole thing in to where Glenn Close could do damages and stuff like that. And it really, I know that was a cinematic show and everything, But he made that show like appointment viewing, though.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, by the way. And this is 24 is where TV started to become almost better than film. Like 24 is, I mean, not a, it's not when we look at all the other great shows that come out like Breaking Bad and all that.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah.
But at the time, to have that big of a star playing in a TV show was kind of out there.
Yeah.
And now we see it all the time. And it's because TV has surpassed film.
Yeah.
They can tell more complex stories and everything. And so like you see on HBO and on AMC and all these different
Billy Bob on Fargo. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's a lot easier, I think, now, but that's a good example.
Yeah.
Back in the day, there wasn't a lot of film to TV transition, right? When Clooney was making that jump, everyone in TV was trying to get to film. There weren't a lot trying to go the other direction.
Yeah, because you had Caruso trying to do it, and that was the big failure or whatever. Is like he tried to, of course, all the movies he was in, I don't think they were ever going to be good. I mean, they were never going to vault him anyway. Like, he had bad choices as well. But then Clooney came out and said, Caruso's a hero. He showed us we could do it. I mean, even though his movies, whatever, didn't do well, whatever, it's, he didn't say that, but I mean,
your impersonation of David Caruso's career.
Yeah.
I regret everything.
Yeah. But yeah, like that. I when the film to TV question came up, I was like, well, now it's so common, but I didn't think about that Kiefer Sutherland. It's a really good one.
Yeah, it was kind of the crux.
Yeah. Okay, well, that will do it for this SinCast. Keep going to SoundCloud and giving us your thoughts.
Man, I love talking to you people.
You guys are some beautiful bastards.
It's really great. I mean, just the comments that we've gotten recently on the last few episodes are just like really thoughtful. We've actually pulled a few questions from there. We've got a question that came in this week that we're going to use for next week's one. It's really great. So message us anytime. We really love it, and we'll try to get back to you on it.
Yeah. So just tell us how we're doing. Good or bad. We don't really care about that. Anyway, that'll be it for this SinCast. It's Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
Okay, we got a. I'm good.
All right. We got a what?
Yeah.
We got a what?
Finish the
Stay
thought.
tuned next week when we find out what he was talking about.
Finish the fucking story, man.
Yes. Mozart's Ghost. You remember that? The Net?
Oh yeah.
starring the lady from the bus? No, it's in the Net. Mozart's Ghost.
I just remember when Mike Myers hosted SNL in 2010, like he came back and did like a Wayne's World Redux, and they did like the best movies of 2010. And he's like, I'm just happy they nominated something called Winter's Bone. If you would choose two characters from the same actor who are different, who are as whatever. If you were,
yeah, don't read the question for the audience, Barrett.
And Clark Peters.
Oh, yeah.
Clark Duncan.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Clark Peters.
Yeah, no, sorry. There's a Clark Peters, though, somewhere out there in the world, in the Hollywood.
Yeah, he's on The Wire. He's the older
There you go.
guy. Yeah. By the way, it's Clark Duke, not Clark Duncan either.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah.
Wow, we screwed that guy's name up so many ways.
And he was in Sex Drive.
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
He's always funny.
Yeah, he is.
He's perfect in this. Maybe, okay, maybe not.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
All right, well then, I guess we can cut that whole thing out and say that
Let's do some questions.
I want the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening.
No, it's beautiful. I love it. I love it.
The mind runs wild.